Lord help us, we're about to wade into the discourse.
We really don't want to, but sometimes needs must.
Let's talk about it.
Calmly
and reasonably,
nicely.
please.
All right, Tam. So specifically, what discourse are we wading into?
Oh, take your pick. It's the gaming industry. Any number of discourses. No, we're obviously going to be talking about Starfield. That's the big discourse right now. And it's not just Starfield alone. It's also tangentially Baldur's Gate. And by further extension, pretty much every video game that is reviewed ever.
Yeah.
I guess, from now going forward.
So we're talking about Starfield. Obviously, reviews have come out hot on the heels of Baldur's Gate 3, a game which received pretty much universal, unanimous
Acclaim. Yeah, and I guess the conversation around it isn't as important as the conversation that we're not able to have with these games because of the conversation that is happening. Namely that it feels like discussion around video games right now doesn't have much substance to them because the groundwork or the context for these conversations is often laid out well before a game is even given to people to review or the larger public to play.
Unintentionally, Starfield and Baldur's Gate have fed into the worst part of console wars, which in itself is a stupid term.
Incredibly stupid.
And it's impossible to have a nuanced conversation about what you like or what you don't like about either game, because then defenders from the other side will come up and argue with you like their life depends on it.
At this point, I think this is the worst it has ever been, where the circumstances and context around which someone else is having this conversation is dictated by people who aren't that person and often has nefarious means.
Like Reapers.
Like Reapers. They have indoctrination means,
Yeah, it's nefarious means of corrupting organic minds.
Insidious means of corrupting organic minds. Thank you. Fake fan. I have already had multiple people messaging me to be like, I know you won't be able to put out an impartial review or a honest review because you accepted a code for this. And it just sucks that you're doing that. I'm like, what? And I've seen a lot of that discussion happening where the circumstances are dictated by people who have these ill intentions. The kind of console war groundwork is laid by them so that by the time a game comes out, no genuine opinion can be properly put out there without that subtext automatically being part of it.
But it's not even just like on the reviewing, games, media, content creation side. It's just like people expressing their interest in a game. Like you can't even post about it online without people from the other side being like, oh, yes, you like this. And it's kind of, it is wild to me that someone else's enjoyment of a piece of media impacts other people. It is fine to be fans of things. We've said this so many times on the show. It is fine to be a fan of things.
We're fans of things.
Yeah.
We love things.
Love things all the time.
I'm wearing Mass Effect underwear right now.
You're wearing a Final Fantasy shirt. Meets Frasier.
I'm a Frasier fan.
It means that like the conversation is already rooted in the fact that either people who want to express excitement or even have criticisms about a piece of media feel like they can't do it because they'll get shat on by the other side. And there are these people who are just like waiting to pounce.
The reason why we're also kind of like, we talked about Baldur's Gate, like it wasn't subject to the same thing, but we did have a moment where the game came out and then there was some discourse around it, and we quickly moved away from talking about what makes the game interesting. We moved on. We didn't go back to let's talk about Baldur's Gate properly. Like, I don't think there's been enough discussion had about how great the writing is in that game, how good the music is, how good the voice acting is, the magic that has gone into making that game so flexible. And now we're moving on to Starfield. We're not going to be able to talk about Starfield. I mean, like, it's likely to have a long tail, as will Baldur's Gate, so hopefully the conversation will come round. But for now, the conversation's not going to be like, what made this good, what made this not good, what would we have wanted, what is it adding to the conversation or design, or what is it taking away? Because we're all going to be focused on, you gave it this score, which means you have this bias.
I understand and appreciate, like, it is inherently human to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it kind of undermines everything that is so great about video games. It's really frustrating to not be able to like celebrate in the things that games do right and constantly be mired in needless drama.
Be a fan of a thing, but don't try and do it by tearing down other people who are fans of other things. Don't define yourself entirely by the things that are created by corporations and put out there. Like, I love Bloodborne. I talk about Bloodborne to the, every day. I talk too much. People hate it. But I see people who are like, I think Bloodborne sucks. And when I see that, I don't like immediately be like, I'm sharpening my sword and I will see you in combat. The oxygen is being taken with these annoying like fanboy wars, and what we're losing is actual educational like growth opportunity conversations for ourselves. Like, we can learn how to understand games better, and also for people who make games, play games as a whole. Like, let's actually discuss the games as opposed to whether it adds a point to your team or not.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Spot On. We hope you have...
I call it piss course instead of discourse.
Oh God. You know that's going to catch on as well.
Please, hashtag piss course.
Hope you have a lovely weekend, whatever game you decide to play, whether it's Starfield, Baldur's Gate. You can find me not engaging in Discourse.
Piss course, thank you.
Damn it. At Lucy James Games everywhere, except on Letterboxd. I've started doing pithy reviews on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going down very normally.
Someone's very mad about my...
someone's mad?
Someone's mad about my Interstellar take.
2 out of 10. You can find me on Twitter and everywhere else at TomorH.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.